Hari Omanandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapanakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaevacha Patijanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Achatya Vishakarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasali Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, welcome. So, today we'll be discussing the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And you know, we've been discussing so many different personalities within the Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, all the different associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in about 10 days time, 2 weeks from this past Wednesday, we'll be celebrating Gaura Purnima. And this is the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is the most auspicious day in our Vedic calendar. And our hope is, after hearing a little bit from Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, over the coming weeks, we'll come to appreciate some portion of that fact, that this is the most auspicious day in our Vedic calendar, this appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains over 2 chapters in Chaitanya Charitamrita the external reasons why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears, and then he explains the internal reasons why he appears. And when we hear about Chaitanya, lots of classes on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we often speak about the internal reasons. But actually, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami first is explaining the external reasons why he appears. So today, with your permission and blessings, we'll discuss from chapter 3 of Adi Lila why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, for what principal external reasons he appeared. And then next week we'll discuss the internal reasons. And they're both very, very sweet and both very, very important to us. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in summary, came to give us an extraordinary gift. Now, anytime I say there's a free gift or an extraordinary gift coming, our interest peaks. What is this gift? Right? And he came to give this gift with very little effort on our part to receive it. We don't have to wait in long lines in the market before the store opens. We don't have to put out such large sums of money. We don't have to show all kinds of prior credentials. He's giving this gift with virtually no qualification. So the great gift with no qualification. But to appreciate the gift, we have to know its value. Right? Like there are some children playing nearby here. If you go and give them a gift of some diamonds, will they appreciate it? They won't even know. They'll just set it aside and get back to some other playing. Because they don't have knowledge of the value of that gift you've given them. But is it valuable? Yeah, it is valuable. And we have come to know its value by knowledge. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave us the greatest of all gifts. But do we treasure its value? Because when we know the value of a diamond, we'll protect it. We'll put it in a lockbox. We may even buy an insurance policy on it. We'll protect it to all might. Right? The great kings would set forth armies to protect the crown jewels. Like that. Because there's so much value. So we'll spend more time today discussing what is this great gift Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us. Because if we understand the gift he gave us, then we will cherish it, we will protect it, and we will value it. And we'll come to understand then really the internal reasons why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So that is what we'll spend time discussing today. So again, we'll be speaking from the 3rd chapter of Adi Lila. So I just want to read a little bit, and then we'll begin discussing. And I'm going to read quite a few verses today. Normally we just have discussion, but today I want to read several verses from here, and we'll discuss along the way. So this is the introduction to chapter 3. The chapter is entitled The External Reasons for Appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this chapter, the author has fully discussed the external reasons for the descent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, after displaying his pastimes as Lord Krishna, thought it wise to make his advent in the form of a devotee, to explain personally the transcendental mellows of reciprocal service and love exchanged between himself and his servants, friends, parents, and fiancés. According to the Vedic literature, the foremost occupational duty for humanity in the age of Kali is Nama Sankirtana, or congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. The incarnation for this age especially preaches this process, but only Krishna himself can explain the confidential loving service performed in the 4 principal varieties of loving affairs between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Lord Krishna therefore personally accepted his plenary portions as Lord Chaitanya. As stated in this chapter, it was for this purpose that Lord Krishna appeared personally in Navadvip in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the first paragraph to this introduction. So, we have to take a couple steps back and explain that Krishna appears once in the day of Brahma. So how long is the day of Brahma? It is quite long. There are 14 Manus, and each Manu reigns or rules for 71 Yuga cycles. And each Yuga cycle is Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. All 4 in one cycle, that is one cycle. 71 such cycles is the reign of one Manu. And 14 manus is comprised one day of Brahma. So it is actually 4.3 billion years. We can't even contextualize 4.3 billion years. But in that whole time span, there are so many, 994 of each yuga. That's 71 times 14, for those of you who are mathematicians with us. There are 71 Satyugas, 994 Satyugas, Tretayugas, Dwapara-yugas, Kali-yugas. And Krishna appears only in one of those cycles. In the 7th Manu, in the 28th cycle of Vaivasvata Manu. Why is this relevant, we may ask? Why it's relevant is this, that Krishna appears again once in basically 4.3 billion years. And we all have appeared in this planet just 5,000 years after Krishna appeared. Now, in the span of 4.3 billion years, we can say that was like yesterday. How close we were. But the extraordinary significance of this is even further. That after Krishna appears, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not appear in every Kali Yuga. Only once every 994 Kali Yugas. It's very rare. And our great fortune is that we are here relishing the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just 500 years after he exhibited his pastimes here. Now, we know in every yuga, one of Krishna's incarnations comes. Right? There are so many different incarnations coming. So then what is the special significance of the appearance of Krishna and then the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? What is the unique contribution, the special significance? That we can understand. And understand why then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So, Krishna appears, as we know, in various times, but this specific time, this 28th Manu, right? So, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is explaining that now this is Krishna's mood after he appeared at the end of Dwapara. So, after he finished up his pastimes, this is his mood. So hear carefully. This is text 14. For a long time I have not bestowed unalloyed loving service to me upon the inhabitants of the world. Without such living attachment, the existence of this material world is useless. Krishna is continuing. Everywhere in the world people worship me according to scriptural injunctions. But simply by following such principles, regulator principles, one cannot attain the loving sentiments of the devotees of Vrajabhumi. Knowing my opulence, the whole world looks upon me with awe and veneration. But devotion made feeble by such reverence does not attract me. This is Krishna speaking. By performing such regulated devotional service in awe and veneration, one may go to Vaikuntha and attain the 4 kinds of liberation. These liberations are Sharsti, achieving opulences equal to those of the Lord; Sarupya, having a form the same as the Lord; Samipya, living as a personal associate of the Lord; Salokya, living on a Vaikuntha planet. Devotees never accept Sayujya, however, since that is oneness with Brahman. Now Krishna continues in text 19. He says, I shall personally inaugurate the religion of the age, Nama Sankirtana, the congregational chanting of the holy names. I shall make the world dance in ecstasy, realizing the 4 mellows of loving devotional service. He says, I shall accept the role of a devotee, and I shall teach devotional service by practicing it myself. So this is the mood Krishna's experience. So why did he come? Anybody remember? Why did he come?
For our benefit.
For our benefit. For our benefit, definitely. And what did he come to give? To give the Sankirtan movement, to give us unalloyed loving service. Right? Without which the whole material world, he says, is useless. Without understanding love of Krishna. He says one cannot attain the loving sentiments of the devotees of Vrajabhumi. So now we have to discuss this in detail. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming in the mood of a devotee to teach us something. Krishna is saying, for a long time I have not bestowed unalloyed loving service. What it means is this. Loving service to Krishna, loving Krishna is extraordinarily rare. It is a rare treasure. What makes a diamond in the material world valuable is because it's rare. If it is found in every street corner, it has no value. That is not what makes unalloyed love valuable, but to bring that context, that this gift only Krishna can give. His incarnations cannot give, he says. He says, I have to come and give it. And that's why we say, Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam. He is Bhakta Rupa. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. He says, my avatars can give the scriptural injunctions, the scriptural regulations to attain Vaikuntha Loka. But in order to achieve this love of me, in the mood of the Vrindavan devotees, only I can come and give that. And he's going to give it not by speaking how to do it. He is giving it by showing us, step by step. And he is giving it in the process of Nama Sankirtana. Just by chanting the holy names of the Lord, which requires no wealth, no intelligence, no prior qualifications, no extraordinary physical ability, no age, even a child can chant. So he says, by Nama Sankirtana, I'm giving this most rarest gift. So now we have to peel back the rarity of this gift. In the Nectar of Devotion, in the preface, Srila Prabhupada explains that every living entity is in search and in need of love. That is the intrinsic ability and activity of every living entity. Until that need for love is satisfied, one will not find peace and happiness. Ask the richest people in the world who don't have love. Ask the most famous people in the world, the most powerful. We can have all the facilities of the world, but without love, it is not fulfilled. The feeling of peace and happiness is not achieved. And this is the intrinsic quality of every living entity. And so we find and search out where to exchange our love with. And we roam the world, trying to exchange our love with our nation, with our neighbors, with our friends, with our family, with our pets, with everything. But the problem is that love is a two-way street. It is a reciprocal relationship. Is it not? When you have husband and wife, just to pick an example, is always dangerous. Love is a two-way street, and there's an expectation of reciprocation. But what happens when that reciprocation is not met perfectly? There is conflict. There is a lack of satisfaction. Because the reciprocation is not there. I did so much for you. What did you do for me? Nobody's had that discussion, huh? That is love in the material world. So, what Prabhupada says is that when we learn to know where to repose our love, then we find this happiness and bliss that is found nowhere else in the world. And he tells that when we learn to love Krishna, that is bhakti. Bhakti is love. Then our experience is completely fulfilled. It doesn't mean by loving Krishna we don't love everyone else. It means that by loving Krishna, we naturally then love everything around us. But Krishna's ability to reciprocate is complete and full. And thus, the search we have for this happiness and peace, it's experienced only when we awaken our love for Krishna. And there is a rasa from this relationship with Krishna. It's called bhakti rasa. The rasa means like the sweetness or the mellow. There's a taste. When we render any kind of service to someone or in some form, there's some feeling we get back. And that positive feeling is the impetus for us to do it again. Right? A philanthropist may be giving great charity, and there's a feeling of satisfaction that inspires that person to do again. If there was no reciprocation back, there would be no impetus to continue. You cannot serve or love an inanimate object because it cannot reciprocate back. Okay? So what Prabhupada is explaining to us, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explaining this to Sanatana Goswami and Chaitanya Charitamrita, that when we love Krishna, one experiences a taste, a mellow, a rasa that is so sweet. It doesn't compare to anything else in the whole universe. Rupa Goswami says, if you take the happiness and pleasure of the whole universe and you multiply it hundreds of millions of times, it would not amount to just a small drop of the happiness one gets from bhakti rasa, from loving Krishna. It's incalculable bliss. And it's eternal, never ending. And we have practical example of this. You know, if I have a cookie in front of me, I may have some cookie rasa. I want to enjoy this cookie. There's a nice pleasure I have of this cookie. But if I eat this cookie, I'll get some happiness. Right? But how long that cookie happiness will last? If I eat 100 of them, will I have cookie rasa anymore? I'll have tummy pain. I'll become sick of it. I'll become frustrated by it. We may have our favorite movie. We have movie rasa. And I love this movie. But we watch it over and over and over again. And what happens? No more sweetness, no more rasa. Just misery. Turn it off. I may have money rasa. I want more money so that I can buy things. And I have things rasa. But always these things end in unsatisfaction. So the taste, it is called this mundane rasa. Material taste, it is very limited and eternal. Limited and temporary. But the mellow of loving service with Krishna, the taste that one experiences in bhakti, it is unlimited. It never ends. It is an ocean of pleasure. And that mellow is what, that taste is what Krishna comes in the mood of a devotee as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to show us how to experience this unlimited happiness that exists in bhakti. Because until now, We have been trying to get rasa from so many different things. Cookie rasa, jewels rasa, movie rasa, this. But none of it is giving us. But bhakti rasa is there. And this is loving service to Krishna. Now, Prabhupada in the opening says that Lord Krishna thought it wise to make his advent in the form of a devotee to explain personally the transcendental mellows of reciprocal service and love exchange between himself and his servants, friends, parents, and fiancés. So now he is speaking of these relationships. So now I want to read the 4th verse of this chapter, and then we'll continue. I'll read the invocation, which I forgot to do. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So this is the 4th verse now. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendentally situated in the innermost core of your heart, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold. He has descended in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So we see that we are being blessed by the author, that may this Supreme Lord be situated in the innermost core of our heart. So let us try to invite Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into the inner core of our heart. And it says, no incarnation has ever offered before this most elevated mellow of devotional service, this taste of bhakti. So this is the rare gift. It hasn't been offered before. And somehow we are fortunate by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Guru Parampara to have come in contact with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. So what is this mellow specifically that Krishna is talking about? So he said that I wish to show my pastimes of Vrajabhumi, Vrindavan Dham. So there are devotional service. Again, let me back up for a second. So we spoke about love, this intrinsic nature to love. And then we spoke that this need for love is only satisfied when we awaken our loving relationship with Krishna. Then it becomes full and complete. And when we learn to love Krishna, from there, we will have love with everyone around us. There will be no friends and enemies, no hot and cold, no duality. Everything becomes very sweet. So the relationship with Krishna is very dynamic. It is very personal. And he is speaking about these 4 mellows, meaning there are 4 different types of relationships you can have with Krishna. They speak of 4, there are actually 5, but the 4 are explained more vividly here. The 5th, we'll discuss all 5 briefly, but the first is Shanta Rasa, which is neutrality. Then there is Dasya Rasa, which is servant. Sakya Rasa, friendship. Vatsalya Rasa, parental. And Madhurya Rasa, conjugal. I understand this is a little technical, but it's to build the foundation. So these rasas, these 4 rasas principally, they exist in Krishna's relationships with his devotees in Vrindavan, in Vrajabhumi. In Vrindavan, there is a unique relationship between Krishna and his devotees. And it represents the most intense love. It is the most intense interaction between Krishna and his devotees. And what is unique about this is that, as Krishna said in those verses expressing his mood, does not contain awe and reverence. It's a very intimate, personal relationship. And just like we know, in the courtroom there's a judge, right? There's a high court judge. That judge in the courtroom has a relationship with people in the court of a very formal and awe and reverential characteristic. Right? People speak with that judge in a very formal way. Your Honor, sir, may I speak? There's an etiquette, there's a protocol. But when that same judge goes home, does the child say, Your Honor, may I speak with you? No. It says, Daddy, pick me up. Daddy, throw me a baseball. Whatever. There is a very informal relationship. Is there respect in that relationship still? Yes. Utmost respect. But there is an addition of love. There's an intimacy. When the friends come over and they sit on the porch, is there, Your Honor, may I speak with you? No. They make fun of each other. They joke about pastimes. They enjoy it. Between the judge and his wife, take out the trash. There's not Your Honor. There's an informal relationship, right? That's the relationship. So like that, in Vaikuntha Loka, within the spiritual world, there is a very formal relationship with Krishna in his form of Narayan. Very wonderful relationship. But in Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna Loka, exists a very personal, intimate relationship with Krishna. And the intensity of love, as Krishna says himself, he gets more pleasure with those relationships. Just like you can think, a high court judge, does he get more pleasure with the relationships in the office or with his friends and family at home? So Krishna at home is in Vrindavan. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is showing us how to enter this circle. To enter the judge's home, is it so easy? No, you need to have some special access, permission. That special access Krishna is giving, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving to us. By chanting of the holy names, we can enter into the very intimate relationships with Krishna. And they carry 4 relationships. One is of servant. When that servant mood develops and it further grows, it grows into a friendship relationship. There's a mood of service, but there is a less formality in that service, and it becomes friendship. That is called the second rasa. When that mood of friendship grows, then this idea of nurturing develops. And this is the parental relationship, this Vatsalya rasa. There's still service, and there is still this friendship, but it has a nurturing mood. And when that grows to the highest rasa, it is this conjugal relationship, this pure love. There is nurturing aspect to it, there is service aspect to it, there is a friendship aspect to it, but it is full surrender. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically is saying in this 4th verse, right, that no incarnation is ever offered before the most elevated mellow devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So not only is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu giving us the entry to the most personal relationship within Krishna, he's giving us the highest ultimate relationship. Now when we say highest, we have to remember they are all on a perfect plane. Meaning they are all perfect. But from perfection, there is gradation. But they are all perfect. So we should not think one is imperfect. They're all on a level of perfection. Sometimes our material minds cannot conceive that because we see things in black and white. But this aspect of this highest relationship with Krishna, that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us and is giving us. Now do we have a diamond in our hands? I have something extraordinary, this teachings. And he's giving it to us. Now we may wonder how my heart is so impure. I don't have love for Krishna. I have love for so many other things. How I'm going to love this? How it's going to happen? Anybody has that wonder? I have that wonder. So, we'll read one more verse. A very famous verse. Many of you must be knowing this verse. This comes from Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam Sango Pangasta Parshadam Yagne Sankirtana Prayir Yajantehi Sumedasaha. It says, in the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave how to awaken this loving relationship with him? By congregational chanting. And who chants? Who does congregational chanting? He says, intelligent persons. If we have some intelligence acquired by the mercy of devotees, we will come to the process of chanting. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes and says, you need no qualification of race, gender, age, wealth, intelligence, nothing. Just by chanting the holy names of the Lord, you can awaken this most powerful force, which is love. Love for Krishna. Love for Krishna in the most intimate of ways, the most personal of ways. And this no other incarnation has ever given before. It's never been done before. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave. Because Krishna himself was thinking, I told everybody at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharmam Prityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. He said, you abandon everything and surrender unto me. But nobody is ready to surrender. Why we're not ready to surrender to Krishna? Because we don't know what's in it for us. We don't have value. Why the child is not interested in playing with a diamond? There's no value. Give it a piece of chocolate, that will have value. So by understanding what it is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us, then we'll understand the importance of Sarva Dharmam Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, surrendering unto Krishna. And so for this reason, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. He appeared in the home of Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra on Purnima Day. So we'll talk a little bit about his actual appearance. Now we know the why, very technical in detail, but important. And now we can get to the pastimes and activities. Otherwise that just becomes entertainment. But the reason and the gift he's given us is what will allow us to cherish the importance of this day. So he appeared on the full moon day, Purnima day, actually during an eclipse. And he appeared on an eclipse because he knew that at that time everybody would be chanting the names of Hari. And so he appeared and everybody had gone to the banks of the Ganges and were chanting very loudly the names of Hari and taking bath in the Ganges. And he appeared at that time in the home of Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata. And he appeared in a very, very beautiful form. The astrologer came to give the naming, who was none other than Garga Muni, who has done the naming ceremonies for Krishna. Already at that time of naming Krishna, he said he'll appear in a yellowish form in the age of Kali. already predicting that Krishna was going to come again. And he said that this child will be the maintainer of everything. And thus he gave him the name Vishvambara. That was his name given at the name-giving ceremony. But all the elderly gopis, being very affectionate, they wanted to call him Nimai. That was their affectionate name for him. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or we can say Nimai, from a very early age was engaging everyone in chanting. How he engaged everyone in chanting? He would cry incessantly. And people would hold him, they would rock him, they would feed him, they would dingle some toy in front of him. Nothing would stop him crying. Unless they chanted. As soon as they would chant, he would become peaceful again. And then when they would stop chanting, he would cry again. And then they would chant. And then they would stop thinking he is satisfied now, peace. And then he would cry. And like this, from birth, he engaged everyone in this chanting of the holy names. It says that he has such a beauty in this golden complexion. He was so beautiful that anyone who took darshan of his face immediately lost attraction to all the material world. All our allurements were dissipated, just absorbed in the beauty of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He had this golden form. He had very long arms. His arms would reach down to his knees, not while you're sitting, standing up. He was 7 foot tall in his full age form. In Mayapur, you see the big Panchatattva deities. Those are life size. Those are the actual size of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Gadadhar Pandit, Advaita Acharya, and Srivas Thakur. They're not, so those are actual life size forms. So huge. He said he had a voice of a lion. And with that lion, he was able to scare away our elephant-sized vices. All of our vices would run away with the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So like this, he appeared in the home of Sachimata. He had a very beautiful form. He was engaged in one activity, getting everybody to chant the holy names of the Lord. And he said that there is no other way to achieve perfection of life. There is no other way. Constantly reciting this verse from Brihadaranyaka Purana. Harinam, 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 Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nashteva, 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 Katirnyata. There is no other way in the age of Kali. There is no other way. There is no other way. Then, chanting of the holy names, chanting of the holy names, chanting of the holy names. So, this is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. To give us this most powerful weapon to pierce through all of the different impurities we may have. This weapon of the holy names. It seems too simple. It seems too easy. And thus we sometimes undervalue the power of the holy names. Actually, the 5th offense in chanting the holy names is? What is the 5th offense?
I think the glories of chanting Hare Krishna. Some imagination.
To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. To consider that the glories of Hare Krishna, saying just chanting Hare Krishna can take me to the most intimate, loving relationship with Krishna. I can overcome all of my impurities. No, there must be something else I must do. That can't be enough. That is the glories of the holy name. So powerful. Everything we need to do is contained within this singular process of chanting. And that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only taught one thing. Just chant. Just chant. Just chant. And who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Krishna. And what was Krishna desiring? Why did he come? To give unalloyed loving service. And why he wanted to give that? It's the greatest treasure. And it's what gives him the most happiness. Why we should aspire for it? Because it pleases Krishna the most. Not because it makes me the highest devotee. Why we should aspire for it? Because that is what pleases Krishna the most. Krishna is pleased most when people take that very personal relationship with him. Just like in the judge. Is the judge pleased in the courtroom or at home? So Krishna wants all of his children back home for him. And so to give him the highest pleasure, devotees who have knowledge aspire to become as pure a devotee as possible. Not for our own freedom from birth, death, old age, and disease, and all the difficulties of life, but simply to give Krishna pleasure. And this mood of a devotee being so selfless, how one can only care to please Krishna, is so profound and also so complex that Krishna himself did not understand it. And thus, that is why he comes also as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and those are the internal reasons we'll discuss next week. How powerful this selfless love is. How is it possible to live one's existence with only one goal, and that is to please somebody else? How is that possible? And what is the result of such activity? That will explain within the discussion of the internal reasons why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. So that we'll discuss next week. Okay. So sorry, a little bit technical discussion today, but important as we prepare for the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So any discussion or questions, comments?
I have a question.
Yeah, bro.
So if you can elaborate a little bit more on mellows of conjugal love and how Mahaprabhu is giving us that. Right?
Well, it's not so important to understand how he is giving us that specific mellow. Because, frankly speaking, in our impure heart, it's difficult for us to understand the conjugal relationship between a devotee and Krishna. But what we can understand is that as one purifies, in that relationship, it is the most intense of love. Again, they're all perfect. But the intensity of love is highest in that relationship with Krishna. So what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing by his utmost mercy is he is giving us this process by which we can purify so much that we can experience that purest, most intense love. Now, we'll see next week that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes in the mood, we said he comes in the mood of a devotee, right? But actually he's coming in the mood of a specific devotee. Who is that? Srimati Radharani. And what is the relationship between Radharani and Krishna? Madhurya Rasa. So his activities are showing us that process. But we cannot understand that relationship. It is too deep.
I think it makes sense when you say that, because I was thinking how our experience is if my original identity was maybe, let's say, in some different ras. So how am I to experience the same thing? I don't know, but I think it makes sense what you just said.
And your question, that question is also a little bit different. It's explained, but it is said that one who comes into contact with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whatever eternal rasa they may have, by coming in contact with the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one may come to this highest rasa. But again, highest is not really highest in the sense of, they're all perfect, but in intensity of love, in that sense. But that can be had only by the mercy of Krishna. Remember, Advaita Acharya said, Advaita Acharya was an incarnation of Mahavishnu. And he said, I cannot convince Krishna, you yourself must come and give this. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not giving us some ordinary thing. Remember, Krishna said, many are following devotional principles through scriptural injunctions. Right? He said in this verse, he said, everywhere in the world, people worship me according to scriptural injunctions. But simply by following such regular principles, one cannot attain the loving sentiments of devotees of Rajabhumi. Knowing my opulence, the whole world looks upon me with awe and reverence. But devotion made feeble by such reverence does not attract me. This is the sentiment of Krishna. So it's a very unique gift. Sometimes difficult to digest. That is why we have to read this chapter very intensely. Chapter 3 of Adi. Any other questions, comments? I've stunned everybody silent. Okay. So then we'll take the process of Nama Sankirtan and chant the holy names of the Lord. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai.